Well, Willie here. Oh gosh. This video is for my friend Jonas. So if you're a God-fearing Christian person out there, I'm asking you to pray for him and his family right now. And if you are not a God-fearing Christian, I ask you to send him and his family metta, which is loving kindness. Um, I typically I typically don't talk about kind of world affairs on my channel, but I'm gonna attempt to um, in this video. So if we look at the state of our world presently, it's crazy. It's crazy, and we can try to offer explanations for the craziness. I have my own explanations that are crazy, with the things that are going on. Like when a country goes bankrupt, they start a war. War makes good money, and then the losers pay. Or it's a culling process, or actually tensions just bubbled up. Maybe it was tensions are driven by Satan. You know, who knows? Maybe it's CERN and the people at the D-Wave quantum computing. They opened up a hole and they've pumping all the demons from the lower dimensions into our dimension, and they're inhabiting bodies. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know, and nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody can say for certain. But certainly, if the media narratives are true, things are devastating right now, and that's not good. There are many anecdotal records, that we have at our disposal that offer us explanations to the madness that is happening presently in our world. There's the Kali Yuga cycle or something, the Kali Yuga cycle. I'm not too familiar with it, although I understand that it suggests societal cycles where there's high points and where there's low points. Okay, there's the fourth turning. This is a similar concept, but I think it's on a shorter time scale of 100 years. They've likened the cycles to the seasons, okay, with societal high points and low points. There's biblical references to the end times, and there's prophecy that suggests we are currently in end times. If you use the Bible continually as a reference, you can see that many civilizations in the histories have been destroyed. I can't say for certain if any one of those are true also. But what I can say is that if we look at the principles that govern the laws of nature, we can take those principles and we can extrapolate a model based on those principles for an explanation that may help us to understand. So if we take five-phase theory from Chinese medicine, which is similar to the Kali Yuga cycle model and also the fourth turning model, if we take the five-phase theory from Chinese medicine of distinct phases in the flow of the life as consolidation, expansion, expandedness, contraction, and then revolution, we can gain some insight into the present nature of reality, or things right now. So, if you think about the day, right? Like, it's dark right now. I don't know, it's 11 o'clock p.m., right, where I live. It's dark. I should be sleeping. I can't see anything out there without a light. There's really nothing I can do. I mean, I should be sleeping, okay? So I wake up, the sun is cresting the horizon, right? As the sun makes its way to its zenith, right? The highest point. Like, people start to do things. Nature comes to life, right? The birds they sound off, you know, people start doing their things. I mean, like, there's a flow to the day, right? The day is expanding. The sun reaches its zenith at high noon or whatever. Then it stays, and then it starts to descend. The day starts to kind of wrap up. It starts to culminate, right? We can see this five-phase theory play out in every day of our lives. And if we consider the models that science has given us about Earth, like if Earth is not flat, if there's no firmament, let's just set that aside for a moment. We don't live in a crater. Let's just set that aside for a moment. I don't know these things. But I do know I can see expansion and contraction happen in my life, in my day. Okay? So consider the sun spinning, or the earth spinning, right? It's spinning. And consider its tilt. So I live in the northern hemisphere, right? So when it spins, right? It spins and it sees the sun, and because of the tilt, it has that arc, right? So I see that. And then it's night, I see nothing, right? And as the planet makes its way around the sun, right? Because of the tilt, we have the seasons, right? So there's a variance here. There's a variance. So the five-phase theory happens in a day with the sun rising and then descending. And then the next day, rising and descending. And then the next day, rising and descending. And this is revolution, right? So, but consider the next fractal level of abstraction out from my day as Earth makes its way around the sun. And because of that tilt, when it makes it to the other side of that sun, the days become longer or they become shorter, right? Like right now it's winter, right? So we're on the other side now, it's summer. So the day is longer. The day is longer because of this tilt. The Earth surface in the northern hemisphere is closer to the sun by 12 degrees. So it makes a huge difference. Like winter where I live, it can be like 0 degrees. Summer, it can be like 110 degrees. There's a 110 degree difference. Like there's more life in summer. You see what I'm saying? So there is the existence of a season. A distinct difference. In winter, nothing can live, right? Things are dying. Like winter is equivalent to the chakra of destruction because this is a time for the energies to consolidate, right? Winter descends like a difference of 30 degrees makes winter. Snow descends, covers the ground, freezes everything. It's death. It is a season of death and destruction. A time for the energy to consolidate, recollect itself so it can push out into spring. You see what I'm saying? So if 5 a.m. is winter, 9 a.m. is spring, 12 a.m. is summer, 12 p.m. is summer, 3 p.m. is late summer, okay? 5 p.m. is metal, right? And then nighttime it's winter. We can see that seasons exist on a next level out, okay, of abstraction, right? You see what I'm saying here? So as the earth is moving around the sun, right, it creates the seasons because of this tilt, because of this axial tilt. It doesn't spin like this, it spins like this, right? So they say that the earth also, as it makes its way around the sun, has its own has its own cycle of expanding and contracting like this. Like it gets bigger and then it gets smaller and it gets bigger and it gets smaller. And they say it's in like the freaking Autobahn society. No, the Autobahn's about birds. I don't know. My ex brother-in-law showed it to me once in like some NASA publication or some professional legitimate publication, right? Where the Earth it expands and it contracts based on its cycle around the sun and the whole galaxy swirling around itself, right? So based on that I can't remember what they call it. I could have looked it up. That orbital, I don't know, whatever. They say that it changes things every like 3 to 7,000 years, right? And it's based on that same expansion and contraction, right? You see what I'm saying? And then we keep going out, the galaxy spins around. It's spinning around. And it's probably spinning around something else, right? Because this is basically the laws that govern like physical reality. Things revolve around other things. Things expand, things contract, right? So it stands to reason, right, that as our society enters into this phase or is exiting a phase, I don't know. Like it's marked by turbulence, like marked turbulence, marked dysfunction, like marked conflict everywhere you look. Like our society is degraded. Like take our society 60 years ago, 70 years ago. It was like a different society. Like it was rapidly different. Like they talk about how people were so much more thin in the 60s than they are now generally. Yeah, we're bulking up for winter, baby. You see what I mean? So I guess bottom line, what I'm saying is things move in cycles. Can I call it a fourth turning? Can I call it a Kali Yuga cycle? Can I call it end times? Sure, you can call it whatever you want to call it. It's a period of iciness, coldness, right? Like it's a period of difficulty. We're all enduring, basically, right? But like what the news says, I don't know. I mean, that stuff's real and probably, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all those people. Like, but my reality is I woke up today, my son saying, what did he say this morning? Launch the sardines. 6:30. Yesterday it was 5:30. This morning it was 6:30. Launch the sardines. And then we played rescue with toys. And so that was my day. And then I went to work. That was my day. So my reality is not so much the reality that's being portrayed to me in other places. And I'm very fortunate for that, because if my reality was swapped, if the conflict was on my doorstep, what would I do? So at the request of my friend, and I agree with him 100% on this, he asked me to make a video talking about love having the power to reverse things. And I agree with him 100%. I agree with him 100%. Love has the power to reverse all the ills and evils in the world. Because if you had to liken love to something, it would be light. It would be light. And a light, even in the darkness, can allow a person to move through it, to do something, to have a capacity for action, right? Without a light in the darkness, you can't do much. You're just wandering around like blind, right? But I have seen this in my life because love is almost an intangible word to use. It's an intangible concept, right? But love as presence. I have seen this in my life when you bring presence into a situation, like intense presence. That has the power to lift the entire room, everybody in the situation. If it's brought into the situation and maintained through whatever the situation is, it has the power to do that. And presence is perfect love. Like if you look at the Bible, right? Jesus was a perfect example of perfect love and perfect presence. He regarded everybody he met the same, and he gave everybody whatever they asked for of him. And that is perfect presence, and that is perfect love. Because perfect presence begets action. Like, I can't solve my problems up here. You can't solve your problems up here. And that's totally counterintuitive to what we all think, right? There's a problem, I got to find an answer. And then once I get the answer, I'll know what to do, and then I can solve my problem. No, it's action. It's action. Action is what solves a problem. So, like, if somebody's pointing a gun at your loved one, you get in front of them. You get in front of them. There's no time to think. You just do it. You get in front of them. But that's presence. That's presence. A lot of times we freeze. We don't know what to do. And we don't have the solution. We don't have access to that action. Right? I have seen it in mild situations, like mildly discomfortable situations. I have seen it change the whole environment of an atmosphere, the whole atmosphere of an environment, like pretty instantaneously. I've seen presence raise the entire frequency of a situation markedly. I've seen it raise a situation after some time. When we encounter these situations, when we're in a situation of discomfort, not necessarily conflict on our door, right? Because a lot of times that is intense. It's like to a high degree of intensity. I mean, that's confusion, right? Like, why is this happening? I don't understand. Right? You don't even know where to begin. It's like, okay, there's something is happening, and I just take the appropriate action, but I don't even understand why this is happening. Our world is pretty incomprehensible today. So, but if you are in a situation and you accidentally access this power of presence, this power of perfect love, right? It can be scary. It can be so alarmingly scary that it might trigger you out of perfect presence. Or maybe you entered into perfect presence in a situation where people were acting, I don't know, loony toony, right? In your house, in a place. People are acting out of their minds. And you maintain or you access a place of perfect presence, and it changes. It makes a change to the environment. If you've never seen that before, you might not understand what's happening, and that might trigger you into doubt. It might trigger you into compulsive thinking, egoic thinking. It might trigger you might trigger you out of it. Probably it will trigger you out of it because we haven't been taught this. We've never been taught this in our whole entire lives until recently. There's a reason why our culture, in a sense, is waking up, is becoming more enriched and enlightened because of its societal winter, right? That's that time where we can't really go out and do things so much. We cannot express ourselves and go create life in the same way we could in a societal summer, right? So what do? We stay inside and we make up things. We make up explanations. We make up understandings. We ascertain understandings. You see? So in a lot of ways, this is just the rebirth into a new world. And that's what everybody's saying because that's the flow of the life. That's how the cycle follows, right? But if you access that that presence unintentionally, I mean, it could trigger you back out of presence easily because you could see a change happen and then you doubt that change. You doubt your capability of making change happen by being just present and aware. Oh, wow, this is uncomfortable. We also have to battle with our own egos and our senses of selves. They're the ones that actually are creating the only real fight is actually a fight of your ego versus presence. Your sense of self, your mental sense of self is fighting presence. Really, that's it. Because if you access presence, right? I'm just here and that happened. Like the other day, my father stole my son's lunch. It was weird. And everybody saw it. Nobody said anything. And it was really strange. There was a lot of there was like a whole episode of confrontational energy. And then that happened and then it was over. I just made a new lunch. Like and that was it. There was nothing, right? But if for whatever reason, my ego says, "Oh my gosh, did you look at you just stole a lunch from a child." Right? The presence is gone. Like there was an invitation to conflict. And the presence, the perfect love, negated it. There was no conflict. You see what I mean? Really, the ego, why is the fight against the ego? Really, truly, because the ego wants to live. And when presence arises, the ego is no longer needed. He wants to be needed. He needs to be there. Because otherwise, what is life? What is life if he is not there telling me what it is? I send my presence out. I send my perfect love out. I send it out. Sometimes you can imagine, you're sitting and you could imagine that in your field of vision, like there's light coming out of your eyes and everything that they capture that's in your field of vision is just your presence. Like not looking at any one particular thing, but just residing in that space of just my presence coming out of my eyes. Sometimes that takes me a place to an awareness of my breath. Not concentrated breath, but just the entire structure of my being breathing. Sometimes I find this is a good exercise for me. If I am so lost in the inner conflict of my ego and my sense of self, battling the world, keeping me from presence. Sometimes if I just sit with eyes open, typically you don't meditate with eyes open, but sometimes I just do. With the eyes open and I just feel the consciousness coming out of my eyes. And that takes me to a full-bodied awareness of my breath. And then from a full-bodied awareness of my breath, I can just feel my body in its totality. I can just be present in my material structure. Not even looking anymore out, just feeling the body. Sometimes there's sensations on the body, sometimes there's not. Sometimes the sensations are varied, normal, sometimes weird feeling, abnormal feeling. Sometimes not pronounced. Sometimes it's just the breathing. Sometimes there's a thought that comes up or an emotion. Sometimes I notice when I quiet my ego, my sense of self, by just being present in my own structure. The feelings that the ego has been suppressing are allowed to come to the surface. And I realize, oh my gosh, this is a period of sorrow for me, a period of winter for me. Or, oh my gosh, I've been feeling this way all day and it has been driving my erratic and anxious behavior. And my ego has been quelling it. Not because he doesn't want me to feel it, because he doesn't want to go. You see? But if I can just sit here and allow it to come up and feel it, then it goes away. Just like everything else. And this is the flow of the life. And each one of those distinct phases, I have likened to 5 of the 7 chakras, part of the body, right? But you don't need to look for answers in any one of those parts. All you have to look for, all the answers come from conscious awareness, from presence. That is where true love exists, perfect love exists in perfect presence. Thank you. I think I'll end it there. I hope you have a good evening. Thank you for watching. And pray and send your love out to my friend. Thank you very much.